Hello. Welcome. What's that? It's so weird. I changed my audio setup. Now I can hear myself when I talk. The feedback is weirding me out. But hi. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Sorry for... Oh, I'm quiet? Hold up. I can make myself louder. I don't know if what I did screwed things up at all. Am I loud or am I too loud? Let's see. My filter's fucking anything up. You can watch me for free, Lich, believe it or not. Yeah, I appreciate it, but yeah, it's fine. I'm at a good volume now. I will say that today, more than most days, it's important that I am pleasant on your ears. Cost to watch. All good, Phoenix. Have a good one. I've seen some of it, yeah. Okay. Just mute the stream and read everything. God damn it, bro. You liked quieter? I can make myself a little bit. We can find a happy medium. This is supposed to be a chill vibe stream, as it is literally a visual novel. So I will mostly just be reading. I'm ready to read. This is the whole point of this endeavor, is to improve my reading capacity. Bruh. Thank you, Phoenix. I appreciate it. Is the little me, are you reacting to things correctly? Seems fine. Okay. This is what we trained for in 3rd grade, exactly. What did you even say, Phoenix? Oh, we have Prelati Fund at home. I didn't even see that, Ferris. Thank you, Ferris. Told me to do this last time, so here's what I owe. Thank you, Phoenix. I appreciate both of y'all. The music is a bit... Well, here, we can swap for the real game music. Get out of here. Kevin McLeod. You have half the internet on your back, but I don't need you right now. Also, look, Twitch, you have sub badges now. Just the one, though, because for whatever reason, Twitch makes it way more of a pain in the ass to upload up there than over here. Still a bit quiet. I can try to make myself. I can go a little bit louder again. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy it. I'm trying to, again, improve. Anyway, today we're reading, or well, I'm reading, you're listening to Witch on the Holy Night. Which holy night? Which witch on which holy night? These are the kinds of questions that we're reading it to find out. I am wearing my glasses, actually. I should have put I need to remember before next time. I need to put like reading glasses on my 2D slope. Wait, is it a little too? It's not really lined up correctly. Let me fix that. You guys are falling into the void. There you go. We are not on any chapter. We are starting from the beginning today. Also, I've learned something. Is it true you can only stream this up to chapter 5? How long will I be reading? I usually do like a couple hours. So that's the plan. So yeah, if that's true, if that guideline is not even because of NSFW stuff, I think they just do it for spoilers, which to be fair, I understand, because otherwise a playthrough of a visual novel is basically like a visual novel, but you know, it is what it is. Thank you, Raccoon, I appreciate that. I looked it up, so when I start the game, it said like, hey, there's streaming guidelines, and I looked them up and that's what it said. Although it was also only in Japanese, so I have no fucking clue. See you, Phoenix. Yeah, exactly. Exactly what you said, Carlos. But we'll see. I'm sure we're not gonna get to chapter 5 anytime soon. Let's just vibe out. This is the perfect stream to second monitor me. We'll read, we'll learn what's the story. Why is Aoko Aozaki? Who is Alice? Whatever her last name is. Why is Sojiro? I don't know. Other people have streamed it, but I don't know how far they've gone. What are the chances I get caught by Type Moon? We'll find out. Why is the witch on the Holy Night? That's what I want to figure out. You know, we'll come to there. We'll deal with that when we come to it. Let's get reading. I don't want to spend too much time yapping. This is supposed to be a cool vibes. Just a cool guy. And their cool chat. Let's go. It was a winter's day, 8 years ago. That solemn morning when she understood the value of life for the very first time. Her home was nestled on the side of a mountain. Around it was nothing but inhospitable wilderness. She had no neighbors or childhood friends to speak of. Things like traveling to school or playing outside were more trouble than they ought to be. Indeed, with its pure water and bright stars, I'm already getting in the way of the text. I'm gonna shrink a little bit. There we go. Indeed, with its pure water and bright stars, it was a place rich with memories both frustrating and halcyon. That was only during summer, though. Winters in those mountains were extremely frigid, with each morning more severe than the last. Her father would drive her to the train station after waiting 10 minutes for the engine to warm up and the iced-over windows to clear. Mind starting up the car for me? Her father would savor his morning coffee, leaving her to venture outside and rev the engine. You guys are also in the way. I need to figure out an arrangement so that we're not blocking the text. Here, you guys can come hang out with me. Let's be friends. That's way too small. You can't read that. There. We'll be at opposite corners. This isn't gonna work. I don't know. We'll just deal with it. Out the front door she would go, traversing the garden with icy breath until she reached the old sedan. As always, she inserted the key, then started the ignition. The engine rumbled to life. Just as she proudly finished that humble task she'd done so many times before. Eek. A shrill scream pierced the air. She knew, even though it wasn't human, that the feeble sound was a cry of agony. A few moments passed. Her father came out and opened the hood of the car. Creaking fan belts, a monstrous-looking engine. This is fine, right? That's like a child's drawing. I can't get in trouble for this. And something that didn't belong. There was a car, god damn it. There was a cat, a mother by the looks of it, and her 2 kittens. The 3 cats had been huddled for warmth in the engine's compartment. The mother cat was missing its head. One of the kittens had been mangled beyond recognition by the engine belts and surely died instantly. The other kitten, its face half covered in blood, panted faintly. It desperately clung to its mother, or rather the chunk of meat that had been its mother, with the last bit of life it could muster. Poor things. Her father lamented their plight. The previous night had been especially cold. After he had returned home yesterday, the cats must have snuck under the hood, drawn by the warmth of the engine. They had slept next to the engine and awoken to a storm of spinning belts. Cars in the 80s were not sealed particularly well, so this was not unheard of. It's okay. Blank. It wasn't your fault. Her father's voice seemed distant. She could only make out a small tuft of the kitten's gray fur. The rest of it was caked in the blood of its mother and brother. I can see its skull. Oh, Jesus. The fragile life of a speckled kitten. Trembling and possibly blind, it continued to nuzzle against its dead mother's chest. Blank, wait. She took the kitten into her arms and ran deep into the mountains to her grandfather's house. Was it because she was overcome with regret? Or was it the shock of grief? Years later, she still wasn't sure. Fighting back the welling tears, she burst into her grandfather's workshop. Her grandfather was a magician who could do anything. She had never seen magic. She knew that magic was a fantasy straight out of fairy tales, but so was her grandfather. She had to find him. I didn't ever to stop this. Good question. He was the only one who could help. I suppose you want me to alter this kitten's fate. The cave-dwelling magician said indifferently. This kitten needs our help, she pleaded. Whether it was a simple task, or Herculean labor, her grandfather would not say. He simply granted the girl's childish wish like a machine. I'm getting hit by a hollow purple. Oh no, the girl said. Before she knew it, however, she was holding a tiny corpse in her hands. Its fur was gold. The warmth of life had left its body, and the tears she had fought so hard to hold back poured from her eyes. Regret spread through her chest. Oh, I muted myself, sorry. It was like regret passed through her chest like an endless gray sky. I hit the mute button by accident, I'm sorry. I already failed. We already have to start from the beginning. We were too late. Some things cannot be undone. Her mind struggled to come to grips with what had just occurred. The last 10 minutes were a total blank. I did say hollow purple. Who she met, what she had known, it was all as if it had never happened. The only thing she was sure of was that life, once extinguished, can never return. Is somebody there? That day, it was her mistake that gave birth to me. Indeed. I can go back a bit. Can I even go back? I don't see a... Well, I missed like one line. God damn it. It's fine. It's fine. I approximated it. Like I said, the part that I missed was, I don't remember how I opened. Like the log. Tab. That tab didn't do anything. It's fine. It's fine. There is a rewind button. Okay, I'll keep that in mind for the future. Anyway, sorry. Whatever occurred that day, it was a day of nostalgia and longing. This is the fairy tale of 8 years ago. The day they first met that no magic can ever bring back. Oh my god, it's her. Arrogant, greedy, and able only to destroy. I must be a wolf. I don't have regrets. There's no looking back. If my pride is left behind, my sincere condolences. But at any rate, I suppose it's my fate to die at the hands of Little Red Riding Hood. Type Moon really likes the Little Red Riding Hood story. Strange One. Chapter 1. Sounds like an alpha male affirmation. I thought this game was about birds. Left arrow on the keyboard. Okay. It was a quiet morning. From her bed, she could see the sky was an ashen. The fuck's that weird? Ashen watercolor gray. The thermometer oh my god. The thermometer displayed 43 degrees Fahrenheit, a rather unforgiving temperature for November. Her stomach woke her up with a isn't that when the movie comes out? Is that intentional? Her stomach woke her up with a growl pathetically reminding her that she'd completely missed breakfast. But lazy mornings like today's were for her a blessing. It was already well past 8 in the morning. On any ordinary weekday, tardiness would be unavoidable, but today classes were canceled in commemoration of the school's anniversary. Gratefully, she had every intention of taking it easy for the first time in ages. Outside the window was a gloomy gray, and it reminded her more of evening than morning. It wasn't a pleasant morning by any stretch of the imagination. But having been up all night until just 3 hours ago, she couldn't care less about the weather outside. All she cared about was more sleep. She just like me for real. I actually think the first time I read this, I screenshotted that just so I could say she just like me for real. As long as she could spend her morning in bed, what was happening outside was of no concern to her. She's so real. She shut the curtains, then closed her eyes and tried to let sleep reclaim her. I'd like a nice, uneventful dream for 2 hours, thank you. Blissful slumber found her soon enough. Her consciousness faded. However, her simple request would be mercilessly refused. Dot, dot, dot. A faint but shrill sound lingered in her ears. It was the unmistakable ring of a telephone. Much to her chagrin, her eyes popped open out of habit. Come on, why today of all days? The telephone was situated in the foyer on the first floor. Answering it meant walking down a 30-foot corridor and going down a flight of stairs. In her sleep-deprived state, that distance seemed somewhere between incredibly far and astronomically far. The phone's incessant ringing continued. She knew the caller would eventually give up if she ignored it, but she chose to fight the urge. Why doesn't Alice answer it? She thought her housemate would get it, but she soon had to abandon all hope. The realization struck that her housemate did not have the day off from school and was likely in class at her prestigious little hilltop academy. The caller proved incredibly persistent. The kids drawing one, I think that's a cool way to reflect someone's childhood. Yeah, I dig it stylistically. The persistence made the volume of the ringing seem even louder. Clicking in the wrong window. I'm trying to sleep here. She was left with no choice but to get up, throw a top on, and leave the room. Thank you, Creator.
うわ、寒。
God, it's cold. She rubbed her hands together to warm her numb fingers. The mansion's heating system was inadequate, to say the least, which meant that winter was the very worst of uninvited guests. Never more so than on a dreary morning as this, when one didn't need to use a thermometer to know how cold it was. The mansion sat in the mountains and was surrounded by dense forest. Winter always arrived here first before moving on to nearby towns. She doesn't have to put a top on. The robotic ring of the telephone reverberated through the long hallway. The mansion's furnishings had been so perfectly maintained that it made the place feel unlived. I feel like that's a weird word. Whatever. It seemed lonelier than it did splendid. Coupled with the dreary morning, it could have passed for a haunted house.
ま、幽霊屋
Well,
敷
it
そ
is a
のものだ
haunted
け
house,
ど、
I suppose.
だいたい2人で住むには広すぎるのよ、この家
It's
は。
too large for just the two of us. She counted more than 30 rings since it first began. The caller either had a lot of free time on their hands or had a good understanding of the house's circumstances. I know, it's just weird to hear it in that context. I guess no, you know, I do hear things referred to as like well lived in. I guess it's less weird than I thought. She had a strong hunch that it was the latter. The window above looked out onto a gloomy sky. She hastened to catch the unrelenting ring in the acts as soon as possible, though she had a feeling that her happy morning might come to a close the moment she got it. It was here that a series of incidents began. Apologies for the lack of romance to this tale, for whether it be objectively true or merely supposition. It is always from gloomy and unassuming beginnings that extraordinary events are set into motion. Flashbang. Wait, is it just, I think it's just straight up not showing the video. That's kind of funny. Wait, what? It's like it broke itself. Alright, so it's playing the opening. We're seeing credits. Alco is putting on a shirt. We're seeing the front of their house. Alright, she's walking somewhere. She has an umbrella. It's her walking on a road. I don't know if I want to. I could try to just stream my whole screen, but at the same time, I feel like they blocked this for a reason, so if I show it, it'll explode me. She's still just walking somewhere. There's a bunch of umbrellas. She's still walking somewhere. Most people saw the intro. I mean, I guess, yeah, if you want to know what this is, I guess just find the intro somewhere. Is the opening part of the... I didn't even click anything to say, like, don't show this. It's just not showing it. Like, it was showing everything up till now. I didn't change anything. The Percival Summer Event image tabs. There's some construction cranes. She's still walking. There's a lot of people walking around for it being rainy in this. Oh my god, it's raining in November. They said it was 42 degrees Fahrenheit. It's almost freezing. It must be freezing enough. Oh, it's a very pretty shot. her looking over the city with like sun in the background. I wish I could show it to you, but the game has decided I'm not allowed to do that. Alright, there's the title. Whoa, Witch on the Holy Night. Wow. I did see the summer alts. They look very cool. Give me my game back. Return to me. There it is. That's so interesting. All right. Hi, welcome back. I'll have to remember to go into like the description of the VOD and say like, hey, just so you know, there's nothing from this point to this point. Oh man. The rain had subsided somewhat by the time she reached the school gate. Sunlight seemed to be playing peekaboo behind the clouds in the distance. It looked like it might be cleared up by early afternoon. Not that it has anything to do with me, though. The weather reflected her luck. On top of being forced out of the house at such an early hour, she had to suffer through a winter rain. Actually, maybe if I do make this into a VOD, I should just go into VR chat and just recreate it. I'll just walk around with an umbrella. That would be kind of funny. I'm getting a bad feeling about this. The sinking feeling she had only grew as she, the sinking feeling she had only grew as she passed through the entrance and headed inside. The entire character portraits. I would cry. She didn't encounter any other students along the way. Nor did she see anyone taking part in club activities either. The reception desk to the faculty simply read, "Faculty closed." Hey, you guys are a fan of it. I could do it. That might be funny. The school had given all of its students the day off, except those explicitly summoned like her. A fact that irked her more and more as the minutes passed by. She opened the door to the faculty room and headed toward the desk she had visited a number of times before. The man at the desk wore a plain shirt and a suit that were nonetheless neatly pressed. Slim framed glasses adorned his face, giving off an amicable yet cunning air. The mild-mannered image this mid-20s man presented clashed with the cigarette he smoked. He didn't appear to have noticed her yet.
Yamashiro-sensei.
Mr. Yamashiro. She closed the door with a bang. Showing no response to the sudden sound, Mr. Yamashiro lifted his head.
Yeah. Ohayo, Aozaki-kun.
We are allowed to see what the character looks like. That's good. Hey there. Good morning, Miss Sawazaki. I guess this means you got the call? Yes, they called me at home about an hour ago. Out of the blue. Having graduated from this high school himself, Mr. Yamashiro was not much older than the rest of the students. Damn, he's just like me for real. When I started teaching, I was like... I was so young when I first started teaching that if I was probably in the school system at the same time as the kids that I was teaching. Because I was like 25, teaching like 17-year-olds. For that reason, the students preferred him over the other teachers. He always had something interesting to talk about and kept conversations casual. In fact, he seemed more like an older student than his teacher, but unfortunately didn't share her fellow students' fondness for him. She was of the opinion that teachers should come across as more austere. The one that slides along the bottom. I could... if you guys don't mind sitting for a second as I do that, sure, I can do that real quick. I just didn't do it because I didn't have it set up, so it was gonna take a second. Bum, 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 bum. Get this, get this. Oh wait, I can't do that on screen. That won't work. Let's try this though. Okay. Wait, how do I Can I make you guys wider? Why do you look so... Why are you so wide? Oh, I have to change the... Oh, okay. I love doing things on the fly. Okay, wait. Just hang with me for a second. I'm gonna switch scenes to something. I hope OBS doesn't crash. ACE. Let's see. We have a good start. Okay, that didn't seem to change anything. Him. We didn't move it. It's not my fault. It's not me or it's the chat that's wrong. Whoa, you guys are way too big. I'm not stalling. There you go. Although now I'm kind of on top of you. Oh, actually, no. If I do it like this, then I fit over here to the side. Perfect. Beautiful. My apologies. You are going to be a little blue because going in and changing it will be a whole nother thing. Also, it looks like the stall timer broke. I'm just going to manually go ahead and close that. All right. Anyway, let's get back on track. Like an iron fist that could inspire. It is nice that you guys aren't in the way anymore. It does make reading more convenient. Like an iron fist that could inspire both love and hate in equal measure, not a buddy to joke and pal around with. He was the exact opposite of how she felt a teacher should be. It was only natural that her manner towards him would be forced and unfriendly. Goddamn. Not that she'd ever been wired to make friendly small talk. You're gonna foul me today. Damn, Alco, you're being kind of a bitch today. You must be imagining it. I'm like this every day. The matter-of-fact answer perfectly matched the displeasure displayed on her face. Did I turn on the stall timer? Imagine. Her bad mood from having to get up early and the tiredness from staying up late must have collectively made her look positively adversarial. If you say so, just go easy on your guest, okay? To be honest, we're not completely sure how to deal with him yet. About that, do you want to tell me what the hell is going on? Because I have no clue. I'm sorry, Alko, I didn't mean to interrupt you. As Mr. Yamashiro met her piercing eyes, he finally understood the reason behind her tone and slowly put out his cigarette. Goodbye, Shine. Thanks for stopping by. Let's start at the beginning. What did they tell you over the phone? Just that I'd be introduced to a transfer student. They were a little lazy on the rest, though. One of Mr. Yamashiro's eyebrows stood up, impressed with the brevity of her answer. He could see that she was angry, not because she had been called to school on her off day, but because she hadn't been told why she was here. To be fair, I would also be annoyed by that. It's the 80s. He is smoking indoors. Mr. Yamashiro chuckled sympathetically. If this was all a joke to you, perhaps I should just go home. Wait, I didn't mean to laugh. This is not a practical joke. We could really use your help. So there really is a transfer student? Yes, but he has, how should I put it, difficult circumstances. His name is Sojiro, and he's a bit, well, peculiar. So we thought someone around the same age would be best suited to show him the ropes. ... She threw him an unamused look. It was negligent of them to be pushing teaching duties on her, but she did wonder how exactly this transfer student was peculiar. I should have enough to add this much to Thank you, Lich. I appreciate your commitment to the Prelati Fund. Maybe he meant the student had behavioral problems or was difficult somehow. But peculiar, she didn't have the slightest idea what that meant. You didn't hear a teacher call someone that every day. She had her doubts, but swept them aside for now. This wasn't the time to get distracted by more concerns. The fact remained that this conversation was all the peculiar she could handle, and she needed more information. She was already beginning to fantasize about saying no and curling up in her warm bed at home. I have a question. Yes. He's a second-year student like you. He's well-behaved and a good listener. He's not the most energetic individual, but that just means he'll be easier to get along with, right? He's not in the same homeroom class as you, but I'm sure you'll get along just... I'll be the judge of that when I actually meet him. And none of that answered my question. Why me? Though her tone was still stern, it was clear that she was willing to cooperate. She had decided to put her feelings of dissatisfaction aside and focus on the task at hand. Forcing herself to act empathetic in spite of her self-absorbed nature was something she was used to. Paradoxically, this force of will was also the reason teachers put so much faith in her. To a point. At times, that strength shattered expectation, and on those occasions, they were left with no choice but to treat it like a natural disaster and weather it until it had passed. This was how Mr. Yamashiro had come to deal with her as over the past year. That was how Mr. Yamashiro had come to deal with her as over the past year. Sure. I'll ask you one more time, Mr. Yamashiro. Why does it have to be me? Pressured by a question without a clear yes or no answer, he answered. Well, about that. You're probably thinking it's because you're the iron-fisted ruler of the student council and are willing to strike down both teacher and student for the good of the school, but you'd be wrong. I can't imagine any other reason you'd call me. Her eyes did nothing to hide her disbelief as she glared at him. Strength far beyond that of an ordinary 17-year-old girl, coupled with the youthful beauty of one. Alright, bro. Mr. Yamashiro let slip a genuine smile, admiring the miraculous balance of qualities. I mean, I'd handle this myself if it was just about pure obligation, but who gets this job has nothing to do with whether they're a teacher or on the student council. I just felt that you were the only one who would entertain this kind of a request without needing to weigh all sides. That's why I insisted it to be you. In other words, he knew she wouldn't say no. Mr. Yamashiro. Oh dear, would you stop glaring at me like that already? At least put on a smile for your new schoolmate. Look, if you're agreeing to help, we should go see him. We've already kept him waiting long enough as it is. And because you braved the rain to get here, I'd be happy to give you a ride home. Mr. Yamashiro, I picked her because her name starts with A. Yeah, literally, her name is A. I like that theme. Okay, have a good one, Ferris. I'm good, thanks, she replied before turning and walking out of the faculty room. He had been waiting for about an hour. While he did, the rain shower lightened into a drizzle. His mind wandered as he listened to the sound of the raindrops. The room was filled with neatly arranged rectangular tables. He was the only one there. Quite some time had passed since he had been brought to this room and asked to wait. Even the best behaved students might have grown dissatisfied or anxious even in the situation by now, but the boy stuck to his spot like a scarecrow. He was chilled to the bone. It was the end of November, and the low temperature in the morning had marked the start of winter. This room was not much warmer. The heater hadn't been turned on. Either he'd missed the teacher telling him to turn it on, or he'd never seen one in his life. He breathed lightly on his freezing fingers as he aimlessly surveyed his surroundings. This dreary place was apparently a meeting room. The other students might have considered it a wonderful place to meet, but to him it was drab and overly spacious. It was a lifeless place that reminded him of an arid cave. Stuck in this cold room with absolutely nothing to do, his mind turned to what they wanted to discuss. Unable to come up with a solid answer, he returned his attention to the sound of the rain. The rain hardly resembled the rain in the mountains, though he could still recognize it, barely. Its smell and sound were harsher, but at the end of the day, rain was still rain. So even this world, alien as it was, could have something in common with the mountains. That trivial detail perked him up a little. He liked how the town looked soaked in rain. Naturally, he preferred sunny weather, but he liked rain in its own way. The fog from the rain had soaked up the scent of the soil, and it reminded him of home. It was at times like these that he was able to numb the anxiety the city gave him. But then he let out a scourged sigh. So I guess actually that should be more of like a if that even comes through. How pathetic. He'd already been here 2 weeks, and thoughts of his hometown still made him sad. Perhaps feeling that he was being unfair to his new life, he composed himself and continued to wait patiently. Yeah, the rain is a vibe. As if having a passion for distractions, his attention returned to the sound of the rain once more. Waiting like this didn't seem to be particularly hard for him. He quietly endured the numbing cold and the hour alone with the calm, deep breaths. As the saying goes, good things come to those who wait. A strong point of his or not, he was astonishingly patient. It was certainly helping him out in this moment. She, on the other hand, was livid. The profile of the transfer student had been explained to her on her way to the meeting room. She was told he had lived his whole life up in the mountains without any electricity. That meant more than half of civilized society would have been an utter mystery to him. What a miserable level of isolation. How is this even possible in post-war Japan? He's like Robinson Crusoe. She had every right to be angry. Did she? All right. His village had apparently remained isolated in the mountains for many years. Contact with villages in the foothills of the mountains only occurred once a month or so, which was unfathomable in modern Japan. Although expressways and Japan Rail, the old national railways, now span the country like arteries, it wasn't entirely impossible for mountain villages like his to exist. You misspelled funds. What did you say, Shadow? Here's more to the Prelati Fund in honor of Lich, so I still got a bunch more words to make this money worth, so random bullshit go 7 more. At some point, I should set up the thing that lets it, like, read out the donation. Then you guys can bother me more. Although probably not in these streams, because I would kind of antithetical to the vibe. But thank you very much, Shadow. I appreciate it. The Prelati Fund grows. I should keep track of that. I should have, like, a Prelati Fund ticker somewhere in the corner. Yeah, like a TTS. But she couldn't imagine how someone born to such circumstances would think or live. Make me stall more? Is it even possible? When you say no electricity, you mean in general, right? Like you must have had access to a public phone.
なかったそうだよ。
Apparently not. He
こっち
mentioned
に
how
暮ら
shocked
す
he
ようにな
was
っ
by the
て
phones
ま
where
ず
he,
驚いたのが
when he
電話だ
started
そう
living
だし
here.
電話って便利で
I
すね
kid you not,
な
he
んて真
said,
顔で言
wow,
われて
telephones are
ね
so useful.
そういえ
Couldn't
ばそう
really
だ
deny
な
that,
と
could I?
再確認させられたぐらいだよ
She shot a sidelong glare at his way as he laughed. It seemed that the naivete of the country boy had cheered up Mr. Amashiro a bit.
駐在もいないって
They probably didn't have police officers either.
うちも実家は
My
山奥
family
ですか
home is
ら
up in the mountains,
電
so
気が
it's
通
not
っていないのはあり
inconceivable
え
they
ない
wouldn't
とは
have
言いませんけど
electricity.
そいつ学校も知らないんですか
But he doesn't even know what school is.
うんどんなもの
I'll
か
have
は
to
知っ
double
ていた
check
そうだけ
which.
ど実際来るのは今日が初めてらしい
Nope, he'd heard of them, but this is
それで
apparently
緊
his
張し
first
ていた
time
のか
visiting
な
one.
あまり
Maybe
会
that's
話
why
も
he's
弾まなかった
nervous. He wasn't very talkative.
うん
He's
あ
almost,
あい
what
う
would
の
you
も
call
野生
it,
児っていうの
feral?
かな
Like a boy raised by
狼に 育
wolves.
てられた
I
狼
suppose
少
that
年
makes this a
みたいな
safari. Mm.
ちょ
Hey,
怖
you're
い
scaring
な
me,
青崎
Aozaki. I
君
was joking.
冗談
Go
冗談
easy,
だっ
okay?
て大丈夫話してみた感じおとなしい子だったから
And don't worry, I
なん
got
て
the
いう
feeling from
か
talking to him that he's a
言葉
nice
の
kid.
通じな
He
い
was
小
almost
動
like,
物
I
み
don't
たいな
know,
感
a
じ
cute little animal that doesn't speak human.
山城先生
Your jokes and
その例え
metaphors aren't
気
helping.
や
As she gave her blunt reply, she tried to simulate in her mind what life without electricity would be like, but the thought of it took her sour mood from bad to worse. I didn't know that Aoko was this dependent on modern comforts. After all, it was a world she had never known. She could understand why the teachers had given up. She, too, wanted to give up and return to her warm bed, but her good-for-nothing pride was holding her hostage. You haven't even met him yet. Calm down. Not only did the teachers believe she was up to the task, but she also believed she could do it. It wasn't that easy to go back on her word, no matter how bad things looked after the fact. She walked along the hallway, the rain pattering in the background. The meeting room was already in sight. With a furrowed brow, she fixed her long hair in anticipation of meeting the unknown stranger within. Her elegant strides were like those of a confident general going into battle.
いや青崎君
Aozaki?
君を信頼し
I
てる
believe
僕
in
だ
you
け
and
ど
all, but I'll say it again.
念
Be
のため
nice,
確認して
okay?
おくよ
Can you at least try to
なん
smile?
ていうか
Oh, he literally did it.
できる
作り笑いが苦手
I'm
で
bad at faking
す
smiles,
一応努力して
but
い
I'll
る
do
つも
my
りです
ああ
really.
そうなんだ
That's a
それは
relief.
よかったいやー
I
本当
really
よかっ
mean
た
it. It's good to know you're not
青
good at
崎君にも
everything.
苦手なものってあったんだね
Mr. Yamashiro's shoulders slumped the second they reached the meeting room. As he put his hand to the door, his eyes seemed to say to her, "Be nice, please." This only made her more irritated. I think we need to. Can we start a counter of how many times Aoko is irritated?
分かってるわよ
Be a very
愛
big
想が
counter.
悪いって
I already know I'm not the friendliest looking
でも笑顔
person in
な
the
んて意
world,
識
but I
して
can't
作る
just
もの
make
じゃない
myself
んだし
smile at the drop of a hat.
大体そういうインスタントな人付き合いなら飛び丸の方が向
You
いて
should
る
have
って
asked Tobimaru if that's what you were after. She sighed about her social shortcomings, but then it occurred to her that being called into school on a day off while sleep deprived wasn't anything to smile about anyway. True. She also thought the person responsible for this mess would be better off attending elementary school. It might not be his fault, but neither was it her duty or obligation to do the teacher's work for them. At the very least, they could have used their brains and organized all this on a normal school day. Another complaint she wanted to voice later.
いやというか敵
I hate him already.
なんであろうと
He's my sworn enemy and I haven't even met him. Sorry, but I couldn't care less about the extenuating circumstances.
間が悪いのはお
Do you
互い
think
様
this
っていう
isn't
か
awkward for me too? Honestly, why did this have to happen when I'm so
こんな
busy?
忙しい時に
Her pounding headache from a lack of sleep had boosted her aggression by 10%. She really is just like me for you. Irritable, headache, mad at the world. Aoko might be the most relatable character in all of Type Moon. No matter how harmless the guy on the other side of the door may be, anyone who disturbed her sleep was the enemy. And just as she was reaching peak annoyance, Mr. Yamashiro opened the door to the meeting room. The room slowly slid into view. She didn't care for formalities, just looking straight ahead and stormed into the room, and found herself face to face with a most unusual opponent. Before we go on, let's see from another perspective. Turning back the clock just a little. You don't have to do anything. For some, those words are a priceless luxury. For others, they are unbearable torture. For the proactive girl, it was definitely the former, though she'd be too suspicious of the motives of anyone giving her such a gift to accept it. For the passive boy, it was definitely the latter, a bitter thorn that made him homesick, though at this very moment his mind was still distracted with the wait for his face to reveal any discontent. He maintained perfect posture as he stared at the gray sky. Name one person who doesn't like swords. I don't know, anyone who's been stabbed by a sword. He had already waited a whole hour, but figured they must have had their reasons for making him wait. And as long as he had the sound of rain to soothe him, he could keep on waiting. It must be 9 o'clock already. In the morning, I assume? Yeah, must be. He had been vaguely keeping track of the time as he listened to the rain. Were you stabbed by a sword? Lobster. Due to the holiday, the school building was completely silent, except for the patter of the rain on the window. The mood felt as damp as the air. It was then. He heard the heavy clatter of footsteps approaching. Although wait, oh no, I'm reading. I was reading something from. Ignore me. Finally, I thought they'd forgotten about me. He could hear 2 sets of footsteps, one heavier set belonging to an adult. He breathed a sigh of relief as the door slid open. So sorry to keep you waiting. The first person he saw was a man wearing glasses and an awkward smile. That's Mr. Yamashiro, the one who brought me here. Hey, where's Mr. Say that again? Thank you. Hey, where's Mr. Satonaka? Wait. Satonaka. Okay. Hey, where's Mr. Satonaka? I told him to keep you company. He shouldn't have left you here. Mr. Yamashiro scratched his head, looking increasingly apologetic. And then from behind him, whoa, that's a cool shot. With a tight-lipped expression that made it clear she didn't want to be there. A dark-haired girl with a determined look in her eyes. I'm a dark-haired girl. I don't know if my eyes look determined, though. Sojiro gulped. The sound of the rain on the window faded into nothingness. That's when he knew. This is how it felt when time stood still. The water in my bottle is frozen. That's the problem. Hey, Alco's finally on screen, like fully. Dot dot dot. She blinked quickly a few times, as if taken aback. Why was anyone's guess? The boy was everything she expected a naive country boy to look like. However, she felt something she couldn't understand. Pardon my bottle opening ASMR. Dot dot dot. Her eyes widened slightly, as if taken aback. The reason was obvious. Putting his feelings into words was a different matter altogether, so we will never know exactly what he experienced at that moment. That's your whole job, bro. That's what a visual novel does, is put things into words. Alright, we call that ice. True. That's when it hit him. He sensed he'd been touched by the hands of destiny. Allow me to introduce the two of you. This is the transfer student. This is the transfer student I mentioned, and I want to make sure I get his name right.
彼が転入生の静木宗十郎くん。
Shizuki Sojiro. Shizuki Sojiro. There's an H there. Even though there's not an H, it's still there. You don't get a better narrator. I'm the only one. This is the transfer student I mentioned, Sojiro Shizuki.
で、こっちの
And this
彼
is the
女
girl
が
that will be
静木
showing
くん
you
の案
around.
内役。うちの生徒会長で
She's our student
充実
council
をして
president and came in on
新
her
しい
day
仲間
off
の
just
案
to
内
welcome
役を
you.
買っ
Her
てきて
name
くれ
is
た
Aoko
青崎。
Aozaki. His voice and the sound of the rain seemed distant. This is how they first met. Such was their start, for better or worse, like the ephemeral beauty of fireworks. They never decide on how to write it. Understandable. As long as I have a general idea how to say it, it's fine. Oh, the text guy? Oh, thank you. It was commonly believed among the students that Aoko was always in a foul mood. But this gossip was 90% prejudice, as Aoko simply didn't have time to be irritated 24/7. The reality was she simply didn't want to explain herself all the time. And therefore seemed angry about something, obvious or not. This idle gossip did, however, lead to her earning the title of one of the school's 7 deadly threats. The remaining 10% of the gossip was right on the mark. Aoko herself often had the feeling that her tendency to feel animosity towards harmless things was akin to what a chronic headache sufferer might experience. Today I fell under that 10%. For today her anger was pure, and her childish and selfish display was befitting of her actual age. Thank you, Lucas. The meeting room was dimly lit, awash in the colors of rain. To reduce electricity costs, school regulations forbid the use of lights during the day. I guess, if you have really big windows. It's kind of odd. This was the setting the three of them found themselves in. Her first impression was that his calm demeanor reminded her of a field of wildflowers. In spite of his perfect posture, his overall air felt placid, tame even. And though describing him as meek would be going too far, at the very least he was passive. She is like you for real, actually, Fortune. Even through his uniform, she could see that he was thinner than average. His dark hair was unkempt, and he came across as a wholly forgettable boy. If she had to look at him in a more positive light, she would have described him more a young man than a boy. It was his calm demeanor that made him seem more mature. Which part of we're literally at the beginning, we're like still in chapter 1. Was that the cause of Aoko's reasonless reaction? He seemed almost too at home in the meeting room, and she was left with the impression that it was her and the teacher, not this outsider, who were the guests here. ... She felt an unidentifiable aggravation building within her, almost as if her right to be here was in question. Aoko felt herself raising her natural defenses. What's with me? Am I really this angry for no reason? She a born hater. She hated not understanding things, her own emotions in particular. See, I was right. It pained her less than you would imagine for a perfectionist like her, but it still nagged her like a thorn in her side. Hahaha, Aozaki. Why don't you introduce yourself? Mr. Yamashiro's attempt to relieve the tension was equally irritating. Introduce myself, huh? After casting a nasty glance in the teacher's direction, Aoko turned to face the boy. From an outsider's perspective, it might have looked like a stare down. And in that instant, the culmination of her emotional state hurtled towards the innocent boy and skewered him. Holy moly. I'm pretty sure they said it was like a day that it would normally be a school day, but it's closed because of the anniversary. Hey, again, sorry for the wait, Shizuki. Hearing his name, Shojiro came to his senses. His stunned gaze shook loose. He took a deep breath to clear his head. Chalking it up to nerves, Mr. Yamashiro broke out a smile and turned to the girl standing beside him.
紹介するよ。彼が転入生の静木宗十郎くん。
I mean, I understand why there would be no. I just want to make sure I pronounce it correctly, or as close to correctly as I can manage. I'll do the introductions then. This is the transfer student Shojiro Shizuki.
で、こっちの
And this
彼
is
女が
our
静木
student
くんの
council
案内
president
役。
who came in on her day
うちの
off
生徒
just
会
to
長
show
で
you around.
休
Her
日
name
を
is
して
Aoko
新しい
Aozaki.
仲間の案内役を買って出てくれた青。
Having been introduced by Mr. Yamashiro, the girl took a step forward. Her eyes were merciless. Her stare an unspoken threat to violently trample her opponent. Sojiro, on the other hand, managed to keep his own composure despite the shock at how confrontational she appeared. He had never been greeted like this before, but supposed mistakenly that this was how people treated each other in the city. The exchange must have looked quite dramatic to an onlooker. A girl ready to brawl, an earnest country boy desperate to understand. Is it possible for a country boy and a goth girl to construct a Dyson sphere? It was a murderous limbo, especially for anyone in the room with them. Like Mr. Yamashiro, for example. While he had thought he had made the right decision in choosing an honor student to help him out, she was in an inexplicably bad mood, and the tension in the air was undeniable. It was this moment that he realized his failure. His realization had come far too late. Night, Carlos. Have a good one. One false move, and this girl, for whom no problem was too large, would become a storm that would rock the very foundations of the school. Just as the almighty Joker card could bring either fortune or disaster, the sole teacher who had been present at the time would come to bear the blame for the scandal that ensued. Wow, you two
二人とも気は合うよう
sure
だ
seem
ね。
to have hit it off.
それじゃあ、
I
僕は
suppose I
この
can
辺
leave
で
you
いい
two
か
to
な。
it then. Mr. Yamashiro laughed nervously as he crept towards the door.
僕は職員室にいるから。
I'll be in
終わ
the
ったら来るよう
faculty
に。
room. Stop by when you're finished.
いいかい、青崎くん。
You'll be alright, won't
く
you,
れぐれ
Ozaki?
くれぐれもだぜ。なんていうか、生徒会
You're
長
the
として
student
の
council
俺の
president.
広さを
Don't let me
この
down.
際僕に信じさせてほしいかな。
This teacher kind of sucks. Mr. Yamashiro left, leaving the two in a locked-eyed state, one in which one set of eyes was doing all the glaring. I mean, he's the reason the story happened, right? We gotta give him some credit, right? All that remained in the room was an artless boy and a cross-armed guarded girl. The two lingered in silence. They resembled shogi players agonizing over their first moves, though it was only Aoko who was reading so much into the situation. Yeah, Sojiro is probably just like static sound in his brain. She decided to put her irritation aside for the time being. With no reason to feel revulsion for him in the first place, she sighed deeply and faced Sojiro.
まあいいわ。
Whatever.
山城
It's
先
not
生
like
が
this is the
ヒル
first
アンド
time
の
that Mr.
今
Yamashiro
に始
landed
まっ
me
た
in
こ
it.
とじゃないし。それで、あなた名前は？
So, what's your name again? Her tone was nothing if not reproachful, though he had done nothing to offend her. But the boy failed to pick up on it. Incapable of such venom himself.
ああ、
Aw,
静木宗十郎かな。
I'm Sojiro Shizuki, he replied. And you're Miss Aozaki, right? For whatever reason, he came across as happy in his response.
さんはいいわ。柄じゃないか
Drop the miss, that's not my style.
こっちはしずきくんでいい？
Is Shizuki fine?
いいって。
What do you mean?
だから呼び方。
What do you mean? What do I
くん
mean?
付けでいいかって聞いてるの。
Hmm?
何よ。
Hello? Did I say something weird?
いや、すごく。
Yeah, very. The boy replied immediately as if it was a natural response, but it quickly second guessed himself.
いや、いいんだ。
Never mind, that must be normal here.
静木くんで頼む。
You can call me Shizuki. You
君は
mind if I call you Aozaki?
え、よろしく。
Suit yourself. She followed her blunt reply with a turn away from him. While she was hardly thrilled at the prospect of the task at hand, it had been entrusted to her, and it was her personal policy to see it through to the end.
悪いけど優しくしてあげる気は
Sorry, but I'm not in the mood for pleasantries.
時間も惜しいし
Time is short,
手早
so
く
let's
行くわ
get this over with.
それは助かる。
Sure, I know your time is
valuable.
valuable. Aoko's blunt rancor was lost in him once again. ... Humans tend to be overly conscious about being ignored, whatever form that takes. But despite being peeved at landing none of her attacks, Aoko did her best to act professional and directed her guests into the hallway. This is a good relationship. A very angry girl and completely oblivious guy. It's very cute. There is no sunlight in the hallway, nor any sign of life, nor any lights, because apparently that's a rule that they have. This was more like a prison than the cave that was the meeting room. As it dawned on Aoko that the hallway matched her mood, she sighed once again.
まず聞いておくけど
First things first, did you understand everything Mr. Yamashiro explained to you?
ああ、学校の仕
Yes,
組み
I
に
get
ついて
how
は
the school
分かった。
works. What's happened so far? Pretty much Aoko is mad, and Sojiro is oblivious. That's pretty much all that's happened.
この建物
But
全部
it's
に
still a
何
bit
でしょう
hard to
人間がい
imagine
る
that
のか
everyone here is around the
ちょっ
same
と想
age.
像できないけど。
Like literally all it is they introduce the characters, not really... We haven't really done much more than that.
そうよかった
I see. Great. Aoko rubbed her forehead. The Sojiro kid had no idea what he was in for. Apparently, all he'd heard about school was that it was a place where a lot of people met to study. High school teachers imparted to students their knowledge in various fields of study while fostering discipline and creativity. But never did Aoko imagine that she would have to explain the concept of school itself to someone. Unstoppable hate meets impenetrable whimsy, kind of. Yes, fundamentals were important, but this was absurd. She had serious doubts whether he could even handle classes, but Mr. Yamashiro insisted that things would work out somehow. Sojiro had managed to pass the transfer exam after all, barely.
ま私には関係ないけど
Not my problem. Aoko grumbled mentally as she walked down the hallway. She consoled herself with the fact that today would be the only day she'd spend with this boy out of time, or at least she'd try to keep it that way.
青崎、
Aozaki, he asked calmly, trying to get her attention. What's up?
こっちも一つ聞いて
Can
い
I
いか
ask you
な。
something?
だから何
What's up?
俺の気のせいだと
You
思うん
could
だ
be
が
wrong about this, but you seem
君は
rather
まるで
upset about something.
なやはり
You're not a
今朝は
morning
悪い
person,
もの
are
では
you? His gaze revealed earnest concern as if asking her if she'd remembered to eat breakfast. It was like another hammer to her head. It was true that Aoko had been glaring at Shojiro the entire time. Glaring red-hot daggers, in fact. Not just at him, but the universe. Even on her best days, her roommate used to remark,
青子の視線は普通の人
"Most
に
people
は厳
can't
しい
handle your scowl, Aoko.
もう少し
It wouldn't hurt you to
多
be a
くの
little more
ことが
tolerant."
寛大になるべきね
She'd been warned that her emotions were so naked on her face that people treated her like a powder keg. How naive could the boy be that he could not pick up on this?
私をバカに
He's
して
not
る
making fun of me,
って
is he?
わけじゃなさそう
No, he couldn't be. Even she found her own attempt to reassure herself unconvincing. It began to dawn on Aoko far too late. It is a very cute expression. That compared to her, this laid-back transfer student might as well have been from another planet.
いいわ言葉にし
Look,
ないとわ
let
か
me
ら
spell
な
it
いの
out
だ
for
から
you
言う
because
け
you're
ど
just not getting it.
あなたの気のせいじゃ
It's
なく
not
て
your imagination.
私は視
I am
線で遠
angry,
回
and
しに
anyone
感
can
情
see
を
that in my
表現して
eyes. It's
い
easier
ち
than
いち声
trying
に
to
出
make
すのも
conversation.
会話にするのも面倒だから
In response to her words, the Martian clapped his hands together.
なるほど。
That makes
どうして
sense.
そう
I
した
don't
い
know
の
why
か
you'd
わ
want
か
to
ら
do
ない
that.
が
I don't.
確かに
I
そっちの
don't
方が
know
手っ取
why
り早い
you'd want to
表現だ
do it that way, but I get that it's a faster way to express yourself. Sojiro accepted her reasoning without argument. though he still had no idea what kinds of emotions she was trying to express. It was as if he could hear the words but didn't grasp the meaning. Ideas that should have connected were instead separated into blocks.
確かにずれてるわ、こいつ。
I really like the faint smile. Like he's freaking out on her, she's like kind of freaking out on him. Not really, but like she's obviously really mad, and he's just like, hee hee. It's very cute. Also, what's up, Chris? Welcome. So it's true, he really is peculiar. Mr. Yamashiro's words made sense to her now. What was odd about this boy went way beyond naivete. A stranger in a strange land he may be, but was only civilized to forgive him some jet lag-induced confusion.
じゃ、とりあえずあなたの
Let's
教
visit
室に
your
行くから。
classroom. She had regained her composure. Shojiro raised his hand and stopped in his tracks.
あと一つ。
Just one more thing. Aoko waited for Sojiro to continue. The boy was patient to a fault. She rubbed her forehead with her hand again, nursing a vague feeling of uneasiness.
これもちょっとした疑問なんだが。
I wanted to ask, why are you so angry?
怒るのが商売とか。
Is it your line of business or does it run in your family? Damn! That's crazy. I'm gonna have to work on this sound. If Aoko's gonna keep making this sound, I'm gonna have to practice her grunts. I don't even know how to do that. A long silence. Hell yeah, Zero can. Though she knew it wouldn't change the situation, she remembered her regret at answering the phone that morning. He meant no harm. She repeated this thought like a mantra in an attempt to keep her impulses in check.
別にあなたのせいじゃないから。
It's
気に
not
する
you,
必要は
if
ない。
that's what you're worried about.
ただ、こ
I'm
の
just
一
trying
瞬
not
と
to think about how much better my day would have gone if I just slept in until noon. With that vague answer, she started to walk again. And turned her gaze away from this rude stranger named Sojiro Shizuki. Opinion on it so far? I mean, it's pretty cool. Not a ton has happened, but it's got a good vibe to it. I will say that I have previously read it up to around the end of this day. That's as far as my knowledge goes. But then I was like, I can do this on stream. I can share it with the world. I guess. I don't know. Also, give me 1 second. I'm gonna drink some water. Wow, that was really loud. That was right next to the microphone. I apologize for that. Oh my. Yes, I stalled myself for so long. Also, thank you all for joining. Oh my god, there's 70 people to hear me read. You must all be masochists. Is that a metal bottle? It is a metal bottle. I apologize. I'm sorry. The world, and it's like 10 people. You know? True. Well, you got me messed up. While what constitutes normal is certainly up for debate, most would undoubtedly refer to him as so. He was a simple and nice boy with nondescript features. If he were an ice cream flavor, he would be vanilla. And Sojiro found Aoko to be very businesslike and full of life. There was a certain purpose to her movements as they began and ended in an orderly fashion. I mean, dude, I'm like, I'm barely into this VN. You think this won't take me a couple months? We could potentially, though. We'll see. Yes, we're very focusing on Aoko's legs right now. The way her finger raised when she pointed at things. The way she made her way across the hallways and classrooms. The way she would occasionally glance back at him to make sure he was keeping pace. Each and every movement was so impressive that he couldn't take his eyes off her. Alko showed him to his homeroom, Class C of the 11th grade. The room certainly displayed more of a human touch than the previous meeting room, but Sojiro was none the wiser as to its function. Alko gave a brief explanation before they visited individual subject classrooms, as well as the gym, cafeteria, locker room, and school infirmary. Sojiro asked so many questions that much time passed before they reached the AV room on the second floor. There was the metal pipe sound. Oh dear. Sojiro Slowb is starting more games so she can stall on each one of them individually. Man. Sojiro stopped, looking genuinely concerned.
あと20分経つと1時
It's
だ
20 to 1 already. Huh?
嘘でしょ
You're kidding, right? The school wasn't that big. We'll be done soon. The tour had begun around 10, which meant that 3 hours had passed. A tour of a school shouldn't take anywhere near this long.
そうだったわね
Maybe if you didn't ask so many
行く
questions,
先
we'd be
々で
done by
根掘り葉
now.
掘り
It's a
聞かれちゃ
miracle it's still light
そりゃ
out. Alko glared at Sojiro. She was being sarcastic, of course, knowing full well he would never pick up on it. Is he? To her surprise, he looked down apologetically, unable to hide his dejection.
なんだこいつ
Oops, I think I broke him. The guy before her now was nothing like earlier. In contrast to seeing his once impenetrable veneer when they first met, she found herself feeling sympathetic. Momentarily, at least, until her irritation returned in full force.
で何がまずいの
What's the hurry? Don't tell me your brain's not big enough to remember all this stuff.
いやそれもあるけど学校
Well,
のこと
there's
は
that,
別
but
に
it's
して
more about
1
it
時
being
になる
almost 1
と済
o'clock.
んだ
Sojiro's gaze wandered as if worried about something. If he was worried about the weather, he would have a hard time seeing it as there were no windows in this hallway.
へえ
Don't tell me
時
you've
間
got
を気に
somewhere
するっ
better
て
to
ことは
be.
用事があるのねふーん
That's
そう
perfect.
人の予定を引っかき
Wait, I
回してお
put
い
the
て
emphasis on the
自
wrong word.
分だけ好きなようにやろうって言うんだ
That's perfect. I take time out of my day for you, and you don't have the decency to even hang around.
なんだ顔に似合わずいい人
You're a real
ね
piece of work, you know that.
いや
Good
褒め
face,
ても
good
何も
face.
出ないぞ
Thanks, I guess. That's nice of you to say.
誰も褒めちゃいないわよ
Not a compliment. She yelled at him, unable to hold back her fury.
で
Well,
で
well, what?
それで
What's happening in
一体
20
何を
minutes? Sojiro's face lit up as he finally understood what she was asking him.
そこは秘密にしておきたい
It's a secret. He said with a perfectly straight face.
慣れ始めたつもりだったけど
Ugh, every time I think I've got this guy figured out, he finds a way to trip me up. Do I like the art style? I like the art style a lot. It's very expressive. I like all the variety they lend to the characters. They're not like flat with their expressions. It's very cool. Still, she did everything she could to stifle her feelings and fake a smile.
しずきくん
You want to repeat that, Shizuki? She took a step forward.
秘密だってば
Like I said, it's a secret. Feeling the mood change drastically, Sojiro took a step back. And another, and another. No matter how many steps he took back, she kept edging towards him. I'm glad that you're enjoying. She was smiling, but he thought he could see the blood boiling beneath her skin.
これ最後の質問に
Last
しとくわね
question.
あなた
Do you enjoy
私をから
mocking
かって
me?
楽しい
He had no intention of mocking her, though at this point he doubted presenting any evidence to prove this would do much to erase that forced smile on her face.
分かった
Let me explain. His arms raised in surrender. She halted her advance and freed her face from that unseemly smile. Unseemly smile.
実は1時からアルバイトがあるんだ
Thank
で
you,
も
baby
ここはそういう
birdworks.
の禁止なんだろ
The truth is that my part-time job shift starts at 1, but students aren't allowed to have jobs, right?
そうだけど
Yeah, wait, you were being so tight-lipped because you thought you'd get in trouble? All you have to do is get permission, dweeb.
知ってる。
I know, and I did. I got permission when they accepted me to the school.
へえ。
Really? Alco's face lit up as she realized he might not be the piece of work she thought him to be. Yeah,
しかし
but I only got permission for one of my jobs. Wait, you have more than one job?
これでも2件
Well, I
した
quit
んだ。
2 of them.
生活費だけで大変なの
Living
に
expenses are bad enough, but now I have to earn money for school as well. Don't you think it's unreasonable of them to only let me work one job?
あまりだと思わないか。
いや、あんまりなのは。
No, I think you're the one who's being unreasonable. Though still irritated, her opinion of him changed a little. She was impressed that he was able to take care of his tuition and living expenses all on his own. She could also emphasize with having no time to oneself, her anger began to subside. The words part-time job were about the last thing she ever expected to hear out of this country boy's mouth.
そういうことなら仕方ないわね。
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
いいわ。行きなさい
The
よ。
gig economy.
事情は
Yeah.
分かったから。
It's fine, you can go. I get it.
青崎はいいのか？
Will you be okay? She had no idea what his question meant, but she at least understood he was trying to be considerate. Which also took her by surprise. She figured he'd be just as dense about people's feelings as he was about everything else.
別に。私もこのまま
I'll
帰
be
るから。
fine. I'll just head home. First, though, she thought it best that they both stop by the faculty room. I like that face. Mr. Yamashiro had mentioned that the transfer procedures had already been completed, so all that remained was for him to sign off on her duties.
先生、案内終わりました。
I've finished showing him around.
それはお疲れ様。
Great job.
Shizuki-kun
That goes for you too,
mo
Shizuki. What did you think of our school?
ありがとうございます。
Thank you for the tour. It's like a real... Wow, the school sure is like a school. That's great to hear. Okay then, best of luck starting tomorrow. She had no interest whatsoever in this point in this wrap-up meeting.
山城先生のことは気にしない
You'll have
で
to
いいわ。
forgive me, Mr. Yamashiro.
教え子に厄介なことを押し付けてふんぞり返っているぐらい
This is a
職員
remake.
室が好きなんだから。何時間でも待ってるでしょ。
He likes the faculty room so much You'll have to forgive Mr. Yamashiro. He likes the faculty room so much he chooses to kick back there while getting his students to do his dirty work for him. I bet he spends hours in there.
いや、待ってるべきじゃない？
Actually, that's pretty smart of him.
そうか。青崎がい
Okay,
いんなら。
Aozaki, if you're fine with it, then so am I. There it was again. Whatever Sojiro was getting at, Aoko had no idea.
それじゃあ行くよ。
I'm going to get
今日はあり
going.
がとう。
Thanks again for today.
今日だけよ、今日だけ。
Yes, today. Today only. She shooed him away with her hand. His face bent into a broad smile as if he found the gesture endearing. It was a softer expression than she had grown accustomed to seeing out of him. It was the kind of smile that would make anyone smile back. Well, most people at least. Aoko Aozaki didn't betray the slightest hint of a smile.
それじゃあまた。
See you later.
Huh?
Huh? And with that friendly farewell, Shojiro walked toward the end of the hallway. Or so she thought before he turned into the next class over. Did he just... Sojiro headed straight for one of the classroom's windows. Whereupon he opened it with ease. The chilly November air filled the room as the soft sounds of the rain doubled in volume. In that instant, she reeled his attention with opening the window. She really wished she hadn't.
いや、待て待て。
No, stop. She had already had one leg out the window when she'd asked to stop him.
何するつもりよ、あんたは。
What do you think you're doing?
何って。
What am I
アルバイト
doing?
に行くん
I'm
だけ
leaving
ど。
for my job, that's what.
その窓は人が
You
出
do
入
know
り
that
する
this
とこ
window
ろじゃ
isn't
ない
an
の。
exit, don't you?
大体。
I mean,
こ
do
こ
you even
何
know
だと
what
思っ
floor
てる
you're
の？
on? She saw the light of understanding dawn in his eyes.
死ぬところだった。
Oh my god, I almost
向かいから
died.
だ。
Who would put an
すぎる。
exit here? This is dangerous.
危ないのはあんた
It's the
よ。
lack of something between your ears that's dangerous. Her insult went right over his head.
あのね、こっ
People
ちじゃ
here
窓
don't
から
normally
人は
enter
出入
and
りし
exit
ない
through
の。
windows, okay?
さっき言っとく
You
べ
should
きだ。
probably remember this information for future reference.
知ってるよ。時間がないんで
Oh,
慌て
I
てたん
know.
だ。
I just wanted to save time.
ありがとう。これ
But
からは
thanks.
気をつけ
I'll
ろ。
be more careful from now on. I love that sequence. That's so that's so interesting. He pulled his leg back inside and closed the window. His school uniform was soaking wet from the rain.
いいけど、 私は
Hey,
別に。
be my guest.
あなたがどこから外に
Go
出ようが
outside
関
any
係
way
な
you
いの
like. Just don't do it in front of me from
Tada.
now on.
できれば私の前ではやらないでほ。それより
Anyway,
あなた
you start school
本当
tomorrow,
に明
right?
日から学校に来るの？
来るよ。
Yeah, I'm a little nervous
案内
though,
して
which is
もら
why
っ
I
たし。
came in early for the tour. He bid her farewell before running away down the hallway. She hoped he would walk down the stairs and leave through the school's entrance like a normal person.
はあ、大丈夫なの
I
か？
wonder if he's really
こんなん
going to
で
be okay here. The image of him disappearing into the distance popped into her head in spite of her ire. She had no intention of spending any more time with him, and yet she felt strangely anxious. She couldn't tell if the feeling was fueled by concern or irritation. Why had she even gotten angry with this insignificant transfer student in the first place? A strange day with a strange transfer student resulted in strange emotions. Her head tilted as she reflected on what should have been a more enjoyable day than the irritating experience she had.
いっか。
Whatever.
どうせこれっきりな
It's
ん
not
だ
as
し。
if I'll see him again. The sound of the rain echoed quietly all around her. The gray sky seemed frozen in time. It was impossible to discern whether it was morning or evening. Mr. Yamashiro and Aoko were likely the only ones left at school. The unlit classroom looked overly gloomy and ominous as Aoko stood in it alone. She pulled up her left sleeve. Her dainty, unremarkable watch showed that it was almost 1 o'clock.
時間
He was right about the
合ってる。
time. She looked out the window at the grounds below. She saw a boy in uniform running through the rain without an umbrella, a sight she must have seen before, but for whatever reason affected her far more than she wished. Aoko did not stop by the faculty room before heading home. While Mr. Yamashiro's offer to drive her home was tempting, she decided it would ultimately be far more satisfying to ruin his day just as he had hers. Damn. Wait, that's such a good play. That's actually really smart. She walked as quietly as she could towards the entrance and opened her bright red umbrella. As she had predicted that morning, the rain was waning in the afternoon. At this rate, it would probably cease completely in an hour or so. The distant sunshine would likely have reached her by the time she arrived home.
ま、
Hey, you guys get to see her walk
それも悪くないか。
this time. It's not gonna get cut out of the VOD again. Well, I suppose it could be worse. She shrugged her shoulders in resignation. She neither liked nor disliked rain, but she found herself enjoying her walk home with her red umbrella in hand. The teachers at Misaki High School weren't fond of bright colors, so Aoko's red umbrella was an unusual sight. A ghost story about how the umbrella, once pure white, had been making the rounds, but it featured Aoko instead of a ghost. It was with that umbrella that she made her way towards Misaki Station. Misaki Private High School took its namesake from the town it was in. The area was once a sprawl of farmland and woodland, but rapid growth over the last 10 years had led to unprecedented modernization. There were some who fought to preserve Misaki's natural treasures. I agree in principle to preserving the land, but not at the expense of our prosperity. With those words, the mayor snuffed out the voices of the minority and ushered in a long-term plan for new urban development. I love civic planning. It's my favorite. More than enough funds for the urban development were collected. And the unassuming town of Misaki became the largest municipality of Misaki City in nearly 10 years. Even though it lacked the modernity of neighboring Yashirogi or the elegance of Misaki Hills.
それも当然よね。
What did people expect, to keep the town hidden atop the mountain forever? It's not like they were going to flatten the mountain or something. Urbanization had been contained to the lowlands around the station, with most of the hills and mountains still standing as they did 10 years prior. The exhaustion of funds succeeded in protecting the old Misaki where the citizens could not. It became a truly odd suburban town, welcoming an increasingly urban population with its vestiges of old country charm. Misaki High School was a private school established long before the town's current state. The original campus, built 50 years ago, was located high up in the mountains, making its current location its second incarnation. The path to the old grounds was not only steep and remote, it had become an overgrown game trail with the passage of time. For those reasons, among others, Misaki High School had been shuttered until almost 20 years ago when it received a donation from a department store chain that allowed for the construction of a new campus in the city. And thus, Misaki High School reopened its doors, the old woodland campus forgotten. In fact, most of the students attending Misaki High School were not from Misaki at all. The hardy, rustic people of this town preferred prefectural schools to private ones. Have a good one, Rex. Truth be told, Aoko herself was one of them. All she had wanted after junior high was to move to Tokyo, where she hoped to spend her days touring her favorite bands on her way to entering a public university. But her hopes were dashed with her sister's departure, so here she was, alone, walking alone in town with only a red umbrella to keep her company on what should have been a day off.
思い返してみると、私の
Looking
人生
back on it now,
なん
it's
か
like my whole
そんな
life has been one disaster after another. Her frustrations evaporated into the cold December air. I thought it was November. God damn it.
でもま、いっか
Didn't they say November?
退
Am I
屈だけ
crazy?
はしないわけだし。
I feel like I want to go back and check. Oh well, at least it's not boring. With those words, her mood brightened a bit as she left the school in her wake. The busiest part of town met her at the bottom of the gently sloping road. Misaki's train station was brand new. Once looking no prettier than an abandoned factory, it had been renovated into a multi-purpose structure with huge department stores on its east and west side. Oh, maybe it was the November thing. Oh, the November thing was the very first thing. Like with the cat. That must have been what it was. Okay, that makes sense. I didn't even think about it. The tour took a whole ass month. I'm gonna drink more water. My water is still frozen. It won't melt. This sucks. When the department stores first opened, Aoko and her friends had been impressed with the modern feel, but in time the stores too became dated. She had no shopping to do today, so she passed them by. What she really wanted to do was rest at a cafe, but she fought the urge knowing her roommate would never let her hear the end of it if she frittered away her money. Super slow motion. Da da da. She looked back and blinked. For just a moment, she could have sworn she had seen someone suspicious in a red dress out of the corner. They love this. They love the Little Red Riding Hood story. It's more of like a. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. It's more like Wait. No. Like relieved. Like. Voice acting is hard. It must have been her imagination. The sixth sense chill she was experiencing down her spine was a familiar one at this point. She continued her walk home, brushing off the event as if it had never happened. In time, the chill faded. All that was left was the sounds of the town. Ugh. Solid water is nice, but I can't drink it if it's completely solid. She sighed heavily. Had she imagined it? Even if it had all been in her head, she was far from comfortable with the feeling that still lingered.
夏場の蚊だってもう少し
Even mosquitoes have the grace to buzz off eventually. She grumbled under her breath.
波乱万丈
Whether good or
勝負繁盛
bad, this too shall
勝負無
pass,
常
so the saying goes.
そうそう
Yeah, I've got
忙しさ
enough
に
on my
ぶち当
plate
た
as
る
it
始まらない
is.
わ
Unfortunately, summer and bugs go hand in hand. She could see how bugs could be drawn to all the sweet fruit. I don't know anything about Mihoyo outside of Alco popping up in Melty Blood and the FGO collab. That is the extent of my knowledge. Just lick the water. That would be an interest. Do you guys want Slowb licking ice ASMR? Rank with grease and heat. The kitchen was closed for the time being. The lunch rush had come and gone. But one last battle remained, dinner time. Only after the evening chaos could the kitchen crew remove their white armor and call it a day. This song is fire. Oh my god. Oh, I guess, well, she does pop up an extra, but that's a bit different. This is so good. I gotta take this for videos. Yeah, she's an extra, but it's like a alt version. Well, all of extra is like an alternate universe. It's very funny. She literally is just like the upgrade character. You go to her to upgrade your servant. That's all she does. It's a Bob. It is a Bob. Yes, I know that's her. That's what I know her for. In the midst of the war zone was a lone newcomer. Do I have to wear this? His voice was uneasy, betraying how new he was. I know how you feel, man. I feel the same. Why do they talk so much about wearing white when their uniforms are yellow? Unfortunately, it's the boss's order, so you'll have to suck it up, okay? The future of this shopping arcade is at stake, apparently. I really hate to ask, but the rain has stopped, so would you mind going out for me, get back in one piece, and I'll buy you dinner. His bright orange coworker clasped his hand together as if to beg for forgiveness as he saddled him with his unreasonable task. Oh my god, that is a dangerous hill. Someone's gonna ride their bike down that and die. 10 years ago, Misaki City was a town of farm and woodlands. But everything had changed. The front of the station was now lined with tall multi-story buildings, and the residential areas were similarly full of apartment complexes. The once rustic scenery around the station had long become a thing of the past. Hello, Uza. Shiro Inazuka was the only place in the city that still contained vestiges of the old town, a pocket of the past inside an urban jungle. That hill in the winter? Yeah, dude. The road extended up a conspicuously high hill to an old residential district. Oh, I know there's not much flat land in Japan, but you could make it like a switchback. I don't know. Tsukihime and Fate are not in the same universe. But characters from this do show up in both universes. I don't know which one in particular this one is supposed to be tied to. But Alco shows up in both. Alco and Toko show up in both. Alco and Toko show up like everywhere. Long ago, it had been considered unwise to build on high ground, so nobody lived above a certain elevation. Well, isn't this is literally supposed to be in the remake, like this is part of the remake with like blue glass moon and everything, right? So I think this one might lean more towards Tsukihime. Shiro Inazuka, sitting his hut, did atop a hill in the middle of town, was no exception to that convention and had no residences to speak of. The asphalt continued for some time, eventually giving way to a mountain road that was swallowed into the cover of trees. A lone vending machine stood to mark the boundary between town and beyond. Even the children knew there was nothing new beyond the new playground and development that so enthralled them. Well, that was not entirely true. There's nothing besides the haunted house. Aoko Aozaki traversed the long slope. Below her, she could see the whole of Misaki. I think you can read Mihoyo entirely on its own. I don't know because I haven't yet, but that's my understanding. The symmetrical town looked like a miniature set from the site. It would look like a painting if there had been a sea next to it, but unfortunately Misaki City was very much landlocked. While it was overcast at the moment, the scene was quite breathtaking on clear evenings. The view was the only thing that made the arduous climb worthwhile, and today she had been denied even that. I'd cycle home if it wasn't for this rain. Even a bus route would be a fine thing. Aoko had been using this road to get to school for almost 2 years now, but the journey had never gotten easier. Oh, it's locked. I guess Allison's back yet. Actually, Type Moon, I'm gonna announce Red Garden news after I play through the Blue Glass Moon. They hired me for it. I'm actually an industry plant. With a weary shrug, she put her hand on the rusty iron fence. Quietly, the heavy gate swung open as if to welcome her home. There sits atop that hill haunted house. That is how the story much shared around town used to begin. The fresh rumors about the house had sprung to life almost as fast as the town's modernization. Despite being dilapidated and abandoned for many years, lights can be seen inside the house at night. An angry murder of crows often gathers atop the hill before mysteriously vanishing. Also, if anyone tells Type Moon this is a joke, please do not sue me. Children get lost in the fog, never to be seen again. Late at night, a shrieking sound can be heard all the way to town. This particular piece of slander was the one Aoko wished to discredit the most. Yeah. The stall was actually because I'm contracted to stall by Nasu himself. He told me. He gives me the orders. The final rumor was of an eye-catching luxury car that sometimes made its way up and down the hill. God damn it, Shadow. The rumors spread and grew by the day. And while they grew, the house that everyone thought had rotted away was restored over the recent years. Deep in a wood on the top of a hill no one dared to approach. Like a ruin shrouded from view even on the brightest of days. Stood a relic out of time, a building from a fairy tale. The house, MD, was the... Fuck. I don't know how to read Alice's last name. Kwanji? God damn, I expected someone to say it first before. Everyone in the town knew about the witch's house on the hill. It was an unabashedly haunted house where Aoko Aozaki resided for reasons known only to her. Needless to say, it was not really haunted. The Kwanji family home was a grand Western-style mansion with a long and storied history stretching all the way back to England. It was too small to be a dormitory, yet too big to be called a house. The main building contained as many as 3 normal houses worth of rooms and was surrounded by a tall, all-encompassing courtyard. That's what Google is for? Hold up. Okay. How do you get, like, Google to...
Kuonji.
Kuonji. Kuonji. You guys are taking... Okay, I'm getting conflicting reports on if the N sound is kept or not.
Kuonji.
Kuonji. Did you know it's Swahili for to taste? Now you know. The perimeter of the grounds was surrounded by a high iron fence covered in thorny vines. There was also an annex to the main building. Given such extravagance, it was no wonder that it inspired rumors. She's British, but she's like part British, right? She's like half British. To the town residents, the mere existence of such a lavish and out-of-place mansion on top of the hill was a cause for suspicion. I have a very clacky keyboard. Yeah, I did. When I got this keyboard, I did not know that I was going to be streaming. I apologize. Kuonji? Wait, I forget how I said it the first time. I'll look it up after. Wait. I know what to do. Let me. All right, where's her? She definitely says her name when you summon her in FGO. I'll go off that. God, you have such a long ass fucking entrance. Why do you take so long to say your name?
私まで呼ばれるなんて。他の魔術師の工房を見学しようだなんて考えたのがいけなかったのかしら。マインスターの魔女は誰とも契約しないけれど、この状況なら仕方がないわね。私はクオンジアリス。
クオンジ。
クラスは、キャスター？そう。アサシンに強いのなら。
クオンジ。Alright, it's like a W sound. We're learning. Rumors, lies, and slander were the prices to be paid for fame. With only 2 lodgers, it was hard to disagree with the perception that vampires must be living here.
ま、私はともかく、アリスはそういうのやりかねないし。
Well, I know I'm not one, but Alice. I just know you spoke Japanese. Sorry. She put her hand on the front door. It was a grand double door that would have paired well with a brass lock, and yet it was secured with little more than a simple keyhole. Nice Japanese accent. Thank you. Pushing it open with one hand, she entered the supposedly haunted house. And by the way, what if I just did that? What if for every Japanese word, I just had like the characters saying it over on the side, and I just had like it on a soundboard? That'd be pretty funny. And by the way, if vampires were not enough to scare you, ghosts were known to appear on certain nights. Are ghosts scarier than vampires? I think that. Or maybe they're just saying in addition. Maybe they're not trying to rank it. Much like the weather outside. Oh my god, look, it's like the poster. Much like the weather outside, the foyer was overcast with shades of gray. Perhaps by deliberate design, the architect had chosen not to include any lights in the entrance area. This is a dark-ass town. The ceiling was 2 floors high. The only light in the room came from the skylight. It was particularly gloomy on rainy days. On moonless nights, it was like the world itself ceased to be. That's like all of my bits. So much work, but funny. Aoko decided the drawing room to the east would be a good place to rest, but knowing that she would not be able to relax until she changed clothes, she started up the stairs. The stairs curled up the wall to the 2nd floor hall. Bars. There was a 3rd floor attic as well, accessible from the far end of the hall. She had never set foot in there in the 2 years she had lived there, though. Most people don't. I haven't been in my attic, and I've lived at my house for a while. The Kuonji mansion was more or less divided into 2 wings, east and west. Aoko has been given the entire east wing, but 2 rooms were more than enough as she was concerned. She had no desire to open a door that would trap you in a storybook world or lead to an attic that had only been used for storage these last 5 years. Whoa, that was a good transition. Aoko's room was at the end of the east wing's long corridor. She had elected for a smaller room for no other reason than that she thought it would be easier to clean. That is so based. It was furnished with a large bed, her beloved mahogany desk, a wardrobe and chest for her clothes, and 2 9-shelf bookcases. This was the extent of what she'd brought from home. Her entire life of 16 years reduced to this. She'd also borrowed the next room down for her own purposes.
そうだ。
Oh
アリス
yeah,
にもらった
I
見
should
張り
check on the
と
watchtower I
壊れて
got
ない
from
かチェック
Alice.
し
She needed to see if the project she had been working on all night had borne fruit. The study next door served as proof of the life she had been living for the last year and how different that life was from the one she had lived before. It was not a room for the person she had been. It was a room for the person she would eventually become, a place of solitude that only she could enter, or so she thought.
うわ
Wow, not only did it break, it vanished without a trace. Looks like I've still got a long way to go.
やっ
Go
ぱ
ahead,
自己流
laugh it
アレン
up,
ジはま
Robin.
だ早かったか。
Oh my god, it's him. The nosy neighbor that had intruded upon her sanctuary flew away. While not exceptionally talented, Aoko did not lack for effort and was too afraid to fail. And was not afraid to fail. One could have almost mistaken her approach for optimism. She changed out of her uniform and returned to the first floor. Down the stairs, she opened the door to the east wing into the corridor as dark as a cellar. No, it's a good thing they didn't show anything. I want to be able to have a YouTube channel. The absence of windows meant it was pitch black without the lights on, so she flicked the switch and entered the nearby doorway. Life without electricity, I don't even want to imagine it. It had been her idea to update the drawing room. The walls were decorated with extravagant patterns. And around the room were large, majestic sofas. And a luxurious Persian rug. Amidst it all was a 30-inch television that seemed completely out of place. It stood looking over the other furniture like the emperor with no clothes. The mansion's owner would have rather done without it, but to a commoner like Aoko it was an essential commodity. They had fought over its presence at first, but eventually came to an agreement and now mutually enjoyed this modern comfort. Guess I'm the one to talk. I come from a pretty traditional household myself. Now in a somewhat pleasant mood, she decided to brew some tea. She boiled some water in the kitchen, prepared a teapot, and made herself some black tea. With a flop, she sank into the sofa. She took a sip of her tea, then another. And I will take a sip of my water. For maybe the tea sounds like this. Immersive. Lulled by the ticking of the clock, she took a third sip as she pondered how to spend her afternoon. The sofa almost seemed to be inviting her, and she sunk even further into its comforting embrace. Have you been there this whole time? ... Aoko blearily opened her eyes as she lifted her body up from the cushions. Second character. Well, third character. This was no dream or delusion. At some point, a girl had sat down across from her. Not the least bit surprised, she reached for her teacup. But the tea within had gone completely cold. Did I doze off? She asked the question to the girl on the opposite side of the table. Yeah. The girl answered without lifting her gaze. When silent, she could have been mistaken for a beautiful doll. The girl sitting on the opposite sofa was reading an old book. She had delicate limbs and pale white skin. Not a hint of humanity emanated from her melancholic aura. She had darker hair than Aoko, and her icy eyes were focused on the pages in front of her. Have a good one, Her clothes resembled that of a nun, but were actually her school uniform. In Aoko's humble opinion, the gloominess suited her. She evoked something like out of a painting. There was something unreal about her, as if she were frozen in time. The white of her gently arched neck was so lovely that even Aoko found herself enchanted by it. That girl was one of the haunted house's 2 residents. Her name was Alice Kuonji, and she was the same age as Aoko.
私、どれくらい寝てた？
The game with your favorite VA? Who do they voice? How long was I asleep?
1時間と少し。
At least an hour. You'll catch a cold if you
こ
keep
こで
sleeping
眠
here.
ると風邪ひくわよ。
Alice answered indifferently, not that it bothered Aoko, who was now used to it. She looked at the clock at the wall and saw that it was already 7. Whoa, it's almost 7 here. How realistic. She had been asleep for 2 hours. The day had been a rough one for her, and she had slept little that night before, so it was no surprise she had dozed off for as long as she had.
起こしてくれてもよかったのに。
You could have woken me up.
せっかくの紅茶が冷めちゃったじゃない。
Now my tea is cold.
私が来た時は。
It was already cold by the time I got here.
でしょうね。行ってみただけよ。
I'm sure it was, I'm just saying. Aoko drank down the rest of the cold tea in one gulp. In the poorly heated Kwonji man... Sorry. Why can't I... That's a normal ass word. In the poorly heated Kwonji mansion, that was more than enough to clear her head and
こ
wake
うな
up.
ると、フォート
Nothing
ナ
quite
ム&メイ
beats
ソン
this
も何
tea,
もないわ
not
ね。
even the expensive kind from Britain. Then how do you know the VA is in it if you haven't played it?
おかえり、アリス。
Anyway, welcome home, Alice. This universe
卵の贅沢もあんた抜きじゃ閉まらないって
seems
ことかしら。
determined to keep me from even the occasional luxury without you.
今日は薬日か天中殺か。ちょっと早いけど。
What is it about
お参りって
today? It's just my
十分
luck
あ
or
るから
what?
ね。
At this rate, I'm due a temple visit just to be safe. Aoko shrugged her shoulders as if resigning herself to her fate.
それで、何があったの？
Something happened? After 2 years together, they knew each other quite well. Aoko had one way of asking questions, and Alice had another. Alice asked without raising her head, and Aoko gave her the details.
まず謝らなくちゃいけない。
I should start by
昨日徹
apologizing.
夜で完成させた例
The
の
project I was working on all night was a total failure. I only took my
ちょっ
eyes
と
off
目
it
を
for a
離した
second, but I
隙
think
に
it
沸騰
boiled
し
over
すぎ
and
て
fell
壊れ
apart.
ちゃったみたい。そうならないよう循環のコードを
Though I'll
2、3
add that
本
I
外した
shuffled
り
the
縫合
circulation
したり
codes
したん
as
だけど。
precaution. Bye, Onyx. I appreciate you trying your best to stick around. I know you usually can't make it. Calm down, Shinji. I knew someone was gonna comment on it. Aoko tried to laugh it off as if it was someone else's problem.
どういうこと？
And
今朝休養が入って。
something came up this morning and I was called into school. They made me show this transfer
そこで
student
転入
around
生
and
の
it took
世
up my
話
whole
を押し
day.
付けられて。
By the time I got
一
back,
日が
it
無
had
残に
vanished without a
消費されちゃ
trace.
って帰ってきたら怒る？アリス。
You're not mad, are you?
別に。
Hardly.
青子の器物破
If I
産
got
で
mad
いちいち
every
怒
time
って
you
いた
broke
ら
something, there would be
一
no
生
end to
分
the
の口論
fighting.
をすることになるでしょ。代用品はあるから。
I have more
また
materials,
一
so
から
you can just
始
start
めればいい
over.
わ。それより、
However,
怒っ
aren't
て
you
る
really
の
the
はあ
one
なた
who's
の方
angry?
じゃないの？
Alice was very much on point today. It was true that despite outward appearances, Aoko was seething with frustration. That aside,
この転入生っていうのがひどくずれててね。
true enough, the transfer student I mentioned earlier was a real piece of work.
すごい山奥で暮らしてたらしくて、こっちの常識が通じないんだから。三問以下いって言葉があるけど、あれって本当のことなのね、アリス。
He's been living deep in the mountains and has literally zero common sense. I know people say that mountains are like an entirely different world, but I had no idea how true it was, Alice. Alice raised her head in response to hearing her name, but Aoko kept going on before she could get a word in edgewise. Aoko, after all, expected no sympathy in the first place.
初対面から尺に触るやつだったけど。
We didn't get along well from the start, but things really took a turn for the worse when I took him to a classroom.
そいつ。
He apparently thought it was a place where you'd get one-on-one tutoring. And that's not all. I mean, you're never gonna believe this.
で、
What do
私
you
が
think he
簡
asked
潔
when I
かつ丁
politely
寧
explained
に
what a
教
classroom
室
is
の
to
何
him?
たるか教えた後で、それで青崎、
He goes,
他
but
の
then
教
what are
室
the
は
other
何に使
classrooms
うん
for?
ですって。
Unbelievable, right?
教室に
I
他に
mean, a
何もないでし
classroom is a
ょ。
classroom.
なんていうか、
And no
そ
matter
いつ
how
は
vague
少
or
しでも
unhelpful
説明
anything
を
I
怠
said
ると
was,
そ
he
の
just
ままで
kept
ずっと
nodding.
聞いちゃうのよ。何も疑問に思
It's
わな
like
い
he
と
was
いう
just
か、
taking
想
everything at
像
face
力が
value.
欠
I
如
don't
し
know
て
if
るっ
he
ていう
just
か、
lacks an
想
imagination
像
or
する
never
ことに
uses
慣れ
it.
てないっていう。まあ、一
Anyway,
度言ったこ
he
と
at
は
least
ちゃん
seemed
と
to
分かって
grasp
るっぽ
most
い
of
か
what
ら、
I told him
バ
the
カって
first
わ
time
けじゃな
around,
いん
so I
だけど。
suppose he's not a complete idiot.
あなたが人を批評するのは珍しい
It's
わ
rare
ね。
to see you so judgmental. Is it
そう
really
いう
worth
ダメ
getting
な人、
worked
気
up
にす
over
るたち
someone
だ。
like that?
みじんたりとも気
I
にしな
couldn't
い
care
わ。
less about him. I'm just worried
た
he'll
だ、
screw up
明
somehow.
日からどんな間違いをしでか。
What she was really worried about was having to clean up that mess if and when it happens. That had to be it. If not, it would mean she had no real idea why she could not get him out. Wait. Why she could not get him out of his... What? If not, it would mean she had no real idea why she could not get him out of his head. It must be out of her head.
とにかく変なやつなの。
Well, he was a weirdo,
案
alright.
外アリスと気が合うかも。
You two would probably hit it off great.
三問異界はいい言葉ね。
Another world in the mountains doesn't sound so bad. But from her eyes, it was clear that the question of whether they would get along was irrelevant, given that they would never meet in the first place. Aoko gave a non-committal response.
ところでアリス、
Anyway,
さっきから何
what have
読
you
んで
been
るの？
reading?
霊的進化論の二次創作。
A book about spiritual
Spiritual diary
evolution based on the spiritual diary.
ああ、スウェーデンボーイ。
Ah,
そんなの
Swedenborg.
今更読んでも仕方ない
Huh?
んじ
Is
ゃな
that
い？
really worth reading again?
新書なら退屈だけど、
I wouldn't bother if it
これは辞書
were the
だから。
original, but this is a knockoff.
彼の欠点と長所を劇的
It
に褒められてい
exaggerates
る
the pros and cons of
よくで
Swinburg's
きた
style
冒
and
険小
reads
説
like a
のよう
well-written adventure. Having the
立ち
secret
はだかる秘密
organization
組織の
can
名前
standing
が
in
カ
his
ン
way
タ
was a
とか。
nice
気が
addition.
筆跡はあなたのおじいさんのものだけど。
The handwriting of the notes in the margin belongs to your grandfather, by the way.
へえ、
Hmm?
あの人
I
そう
had
いう
no idea
趣
he
味
was
まで
into
あっ
that
たん
sort
だ。
of thing. He
割
had a
と
great
ユーモ
sense
ア
of
があったの
humor.
ね。
I really miss him. Alco seemed nostalgic over her now deceased grandfather.
あなたのおじいさん、
He just contacted
夏
you
に
this
タ
last
オルを
summer,
くれ
didn't
た
he?
けど。よしてよ。死ん
Do
だ
you
も
really
の
have
と
to
考
go
えたいの
there?
に。
Why can't the dead stay dead? Alco sighed and laid back on the sofa. The soft cushions caved in under her weight.
話は戻るけど、
As I was saying, Alice shot a glance at Alco. Her body, buried in the sofa, remained as still as a corpse. It was clear Alco had tuned out of the conversation. Alice silently chastised her with a look. The more she thought about it, the less important the events of the day seemed to become. If she just ignored Alice, the conversation would end there. They would eventually get up and leave today's mistake unresolved for another day. However, that's not the kind of person Alko Aozaki was.
いいわよ。何？
Yeah, what is it? She asked, still laying down.
今日できなかったの。
It's upsetting that you failed today.
だから反省してる
Like
っ
I said,
て。
I'm thinking about it.
学校優
I
先
need to
は
focus
一
on
人前
becoming
に
a
なってから。
full-fledged mage before thinking about school. I know that.
ならいいけど。
I hope you do. The coldness in her voice made Alko gnash her teeth. She knew what Alice wanted to say. She knew better than anyone. The veneer she wore for school was different than the way she lived at home. While it could be called hiding in plain sight, Alice thought it was silly. And what the silence told her was,
覚悟を決めろって言
make
い
up
たい
your
の
mind
ね
already.
あんた
I
は。
know. Today's failure was not a colossal one. She just happened to upset the delicate balance between her home and school lives, chasing one at the expense of the other. And yet that careless mistake was a clear sign of Alko's lack of commitment.
アリスは関係ない。
This doesn't concern Alice. It's
私
my
が
decision
私
to
で
make.
決めなくちゃいけないこと。
She had only known for sure for the last year and a half. But she'd had a hunch for as long as she could remember. Make the choice and the day will come. It was little wonder that her morals and conscience had been stripped away. Alko pushed herself back up. She was met by Alice's cold beauty and wordless gaze.
オッケー、アリス。来
Okay,
週中に
Alice,
決着をつけよう。
we can do it next week.
それでいいんでしょ？
That work for you?
ええ。青
As
子は
long
いい
as it works for you. Aoko could not help but shake her head, feeling like she was hearing something similar for the second time that day. Even in the comfort of her own, she couldn't banish thoughts of that country boy from her mind.
じゃあ下準備はよろしくね。
I'll let you set it up then.
私まだできない
That's
し。
still beyond my abilities.
場所は例の公園で。
Should we do it at that park?
妥当な線ね。
Sure. The line there is suitable
でも
enough.
もう一
But
件
what
もあ
about
る
that
の？
other thing?
そっちの方が急務じゃない？
Isn't that a more urgent concern?
時と場合。
It depends on the
森に
conditions.
変化が
I'll
あ
let
れ
you
ば
know if there are
教え
any
る。
changes into the woods. After that brief exchange, Alice returned her attention to the book on her lap. Shop talk was over. Now they could return to their normal relationship as roommates. Aoko grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. Since Alice was busy reading, Aoko decided to tune into a variety show that had already started. Alice started to speak, but suddenly cut herself off. One of her delicate hands raised to her mouth. She would always cut herself off the second she realized she was about to say something trivial. Sometimes her self-restraint would hit too late and she would make a gesture like the one she was making now. It occurred to Aoko that the sound her cute little roommate made just now was different than the what she blurted in the past.
何？
What is it? Aoko turned down the volume on the TV. Her intense eyes lit up like those of a mischievous cat.
どうということは
It's nothing really, but...
ないんだけど。
But what? Oh. Aoko looked away bashfully, not knowing if she should bring it up or not. It was times like these that her expression carried a real warmth and surprising charm. If he could see her in this moment, Alice's father would have to admit that her name suited her perfectly.
今日帰ってくる
It's
時
just that I saw something strange on my way home and wanted to
誰
tell
かに
someone about
話そう
it.
と思っていたんだけど。
Aoko nodded, beckoning her to continue.
つまらない。本当に
It's silly,
いいの
really.
けど。
But I just can't make
どう考
sense of
え
it,
ても
no matter how much I think about it.
そんなことをする理由がわからん。青子。
Aoko, do you have any idea why a man-sized cat would be riding around town, delivering meals to people? Interesting question. Also, hello, son. For a second, too many A names. For a second, Aoko thought Alice was trying and failing miserably to make a joke again. One would think that about anyone, really. But she seemed completely serious. Even if Alice's sense of humor fell flat for Aoko, the story already sounded more fanciful than Alice's usual attempts at jokes. Aoko concluded that her roommate was talking about something she had actually seen. There are a few things off about that. Maybe we should break it down. Let's not. Even I can think of a few mundane explanations. I'm just asking because I can't figure out why someone would do that. Maybe it's as simple as someone just dressing up in a finely crafted cat suit to deliver food for a restaurant. I like Mihoyo so far. It's a vibe, has been my answer, but it's true. I like it. I like the vibes. Give me a moment. I'm gonna drink some water again. But yeah, it's fun. I'm more worried about the person doing it than their reasons personally. Alice nodded tentatively at her words. But whatever does it for them, I guess. In a world with people like us and weirdos that live like mountain hermits, there's no telling what kinds of freaks are out there. I personally would have just gone up to them and asked them what they were doing. Alice's gaze drifted at that. A delivery cat riding through neighborhoods in the evening. Sounds like something straight out of a fantasy story. Hey, what should we do for dinner tonight? Speaking of delivery, maybe we should order in. Aoko loved getting takeout, and her face glowed as she spoke. She really is like me. They had no hard rules for dinner, but if one of them was in the mood to cook, they made it a point to make enough for two. At the very worst, this meant entire weeks without dinner, but the two of them agreed that this was the system that worked best for them. Whether they found cooking to be too much effort or simply liked ordering out, nights like this one were a common occurrence, much to the chagrin of the restaurants of Misaki Town. Delivering to the mansion meant coming all the way up to the top of this hill, the source of their disgruntlement. It's still before 8, so we're good. I'm really in the mood for kongetsu tonight. I haven't had their tsukimi soba in ages. The Hungary Student Council president laid out a stack of takeout menus like she might fan a deck of cards and excitedly scanned for anything that stood out. Alice casually responded without sparing so much as a glance. Sorry, but I've already had dinner. I love the music stop. Like this is the most dramatic drop of the whole game so far. With those words, Aoko froze. All deliveries required a minimum of 2 items, so she was out of luck without an accomplice. Cruel society had decided it couldn't be bothered to deliver to a princess who only ordered a single serving of food. Incidentally, to counteract orders from the Hilltop Mansion, the restaurants had declared the minimum number of orders will be 3 starting next year. Aoko and Alice were still in the dark to this fiendish change in direction. Traitor. Is that why you were getting back? Is that why you were late getting back? Between the bus ride and the walk, the trip home takes only 20 minutes. I should have known something was up when you didn't get home before 5 o'clock. We're gonna end at the end of this night. I think that seems like a good stopping point. Unfortunately for Aoko, she had been too out of it to even remember that she was the one who'd fallen asleep. Talk about Ice Queen. I thought it was clear that if either of us got food, we would bring enough home for the other person. Didn't I bring back something for you when I ate out last time? It was unknown how serious Aoko was being, but she was visibly angry. She had already woken up hungry that morning, and from the time she was called into school until now, she had consumed nothing but tea. It was a small miracle that her stomach was that growling. That would make me even angrier, dude, if I hadn't eaten all day. She knew it was her own fault, but she persisted, wanting to get revenge on Alice for scolding her earlier. By last time, you mean the time you went into the city and ate sushi but only came back with a plastic bag full of convenience store food that time? Aoko had kicked a hornet's nest. So what? It was better than nothing, wasn't it? There are times when you'd be better off saying nothing at all. Alice's icy gaze pierced right through her. Aoko had certainly crossed the line by going on and on about how the sushi circled around the restaurant while Alice ate her convenience store meal. But new things fascinated her, and she couldn't contain her curiosity towards the conveyor belt sushi shops that started popping up at that time. They were nothing short of miraculous. Even honesty can be a sin given the right circumstances. Fine, I get it. Does this at least mean we're even now? Alice went back to her book without so much as recognizing the question. The fact that she did not confirm it made Aoko nervous. Anxious, whatever. Well, today has been a total disaster. I guess I'll just whip up something in the kitchen. She stood up, announcing her intent to no one in particular. Oh, I almost forgot to ask, where did you end up eating anyway? Alice's hand froze on her current page. She suddenly shut the book she was reading and stood up as if at wit's end. She walked across the drawing room with her book in hand. When she reached the door, she stopped and turned toward Aoko. So much drama. You really want to know? Sure. Aoko nodded timidly, cowed by Alice's sudden vigor. Alice continued in her matter-of-fact way. The cat gave me one of his leftover deliveries. Okay. And with that brief response, she left the room. Little happening of last night. And here's we will save. What do we think? How's chapter 1? I assume a lot of you have already read this, but I think it's fun. Like I said, it's a vibe. Like, we really haven't done anything much more than introduce the characters, but I've been enjoying it. I like the mood. I like the way that they handle the animations and everything. I like the music. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know how I turned vigor into vinegar. My bad. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I'm also, like I said, I'm scared about the whole what I am and am not allowed to stream. I guess we'll see what happens as time goes by. Cause the whole you're not allowed to stream past chapter 5 thing. We'll have to see what that means exactly. But yeah, I thought it was cool. Establishing the everyday norm is important for the rest. Yeah, no, I'm not mad. I didn't expect like a ton of stuff to happen. Most VNs don't start with a lot of stuff. I'm very interested to see. It's more of a Japan thing. That is true. Those guidelines are only there in, like, the guidelines themselves only exist in Japanese. But it does say it. I don't know. Maybe I risk it. Maybe I risk it for the biscuit. We'll see. Maybe a new VTuber named B-Laws shows up to stream past chapter 5 that's unassociated with my brand. We'll see. I'd recommend doing some research. What's my favorite VN? I honestly haven't read that many VNs. The only other ones that I've read are like meme ones, honestly. Slow C is also a good one. Slow C is also a good one. There are several English playthroughs. Do they go all the way to the end? Like past chapter 5? Because that's the specific thing that I've seen. But again, it is old, so I don't know. We'll find out. I'll do it for the good of the people. Steins Gate? I watched Steins Gate. Does that count? Will I read the whole visual novel? Definitely. Definitely. Whether it's on or off stream, I will read it. There are English full... If there are full playthroughs of people reading it, I bet it's fine. Because it's not like... I know that when part 2 of FGO ended, that was like banned from sharing, but that was also like brand new content. I don't know. I don't know. I do not know. Yeah, I read DDLC. I read DDLC and Karawa Shoujo. I am not very cultured, I'm sorry. I'm a fraud. Also technically 4 years old, yeah, true. But I think it'd be cool to be caught up, so by the time the movie comes out, I can talk about it. But we'll see. There's Karawa Shoujo. Leave me alone. I really liked it. I liked it. I want to read Slay the Princess. If I stream that, would people watch that? It looks fun. What was I gonna say? But yeah, we'll call it here. Thank you all for stopping by. It was really fun. We'll probably do this again next... Maybe next Saturday? I'm stupid. But then the streams with Didu should start again, so we might have to find a different time. And next week, I really want to catch up on FGO, so be ready for a lot of Slowb streams. Shortest Slowb stream? I don't think so. It was still 2 hours. It was still over 2 hours. But yeah, thanks for hanging around. Have a good day. Have a good rest of your weekend. Take it easy. I'm glad you had fun. And I will see you all later.